Tomorrow's elections promise a lot of close races, actually. ABC's Robert Krulwich is with us this morning to remind us of our very festive voting tradition.
Good morning, John. On Election Day, we vote, and then we all go back to our separate homes to watch the returns on TV. 100 years ago, the day felt very, very different because, while the vote was certainly important, it was the gathering. It was people coming together to watch the result. That was the big event. Look at this. This is Madison Square in New York City, 1888. People all over the place. And up there on the roof of that building, you'll see a giant sheet with election results. Looks handwritten.
You used a pen to write what the tallies were. And by writing something out, it would then be projected.
Using a lantern, which later got a mysterious name. What was it?
Oh, stereopticon.
All over the country, men, and it's overwhelmingly men here, gathered together to watch results, usually on a sheet, and then later there were two sheets, one for returns, and then on the other...
They were showing a Charlie Chaplin film on one of the sheets, and then they also had an X-ray of a moving kneecap that they were showing, and this was something that people found extremely interesting.
So if you were bored by the results, you could look at a moving kneecap. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it looks like they were really, I mean, it was a fun thing.
It was fun because if you had free food, and if you had free entertainment, and you had free booze provided by Tammany Hall, like, what's not to like?
Finally this evening from us, history, American history that is. We've heard a great deal of talk this week about when we at the networks should report to the audience the results of the elections. It raises a lot of questions for us, but this one about history. Once upon a time when the country was young, and you were, say, living in the middle of the Mississippi Valley, how long did it take before you found out who'd been elected president? We turned to ABC's Robert Krulwich.
Well, out on the frontier in St. Louis in the 1830s, it could take 3 weeks to find out who was elected, particularly if there were incessant rains in November and the stagecoach carrying the mail couldn't get through the mud. Then the editors would have to ask their readers, have you heard anything?
They wanted rumors, they wanted hearsay, anything that they could get. They also used riverboat captains,
who would pass the election news from boat to boat along the river. In 1864, news of Abraham Lincoln's re-election made it by Pony Express all the way to Fort Churchill, Nevada in 6 days, a new record. But with the introduction of the telegraph, suddenly people everywhere could learn the results in a day. The newspapers in St. Louis, Chicago, and New York, linked by telegraph, were able to set up giant sheets on rooftops and project the results to thousands of people gathered below, while newsboys crisscrossed the city spreading the word.
I remember hearing, extra, extra, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you looked out the window and there were these kids.
Then, in 1920, came the first election night broadcast on the radio. And within a decade, anyone almost anywhere could hear results immediately. Then came TV, and the networks vied to be the first to call the election.
One more projection, the state of Utah, its 4 electoral votes will go to Richard Nixon.
By 1992, with improved exit polling, at 12:15 lunchtime last election day, the networks knew and the senior Clinton staff knew who had won.
Peter's calling it. They've got enough of a field to call Michigan.
Michigan! For them, the election was over before most of us had voted.
Okay.
So in a century and a half, instead of waiting 3 weeks to find out how people voted, sometimes we can know how they voted before they voted. No question that's faster. But is it better? Robert Krulwich, ABC News.
They are going to continue this debate later this evening on Nightline with Ted Koppel. That's our report on world news tonight. Don't forget on 2020, Diane Sawyer's report from inside Afghanistan. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a nice weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Good night.